1989, and 22-year-old Halle Berry had just landed her big break on the ABC sitcom Living Dolls.
She's working these crazy hours on this show, and, she starts not feeling so good, and she's feeling very weak, and she just completely forgets to eat.
The last thing she wanted to happen, the last thing she ever expected to happen, was to have a medical episode on the set. She actually collapsed and was taken to the hospital.
Halle was in a coma for a week.
And when she came to, the doctors, had the sad news that she is a diabetic. It wasn't something that could be controlled with diet or exercise.
The doctor says, you're going to have to give yourself insulin shots for the rest of your life. And if you don't do it every day, you'll either go blind or lose your legs.
And it's something that scared her and worried her because she didn't quite know that much about the disease at the time. A lot of people didn't know much about the disease, and we know more about it now.
As Halle was learning to manage her diabetes, she faced other problems. The critics had panned Living Dolls, and it was canceled abruptly. Halle didn't work for 6 months. Slowly, small TV parts came her way. But Halle had her sights set on something even bigger, the silver screen.
At the time, Hollywood was really looking for a new generation of female lead actresses. You had Julia Roberts and Meg Ryan, and a little bit later Sandra Bullock coming up at that time.
But Halle faced a barrier those women did not.
Halle's race may have been an inhibiting factor because I think a lot of screenwriters were just not necessarily thinking of African American women when they were writing the lead roles in movies.
Then, in the early 90s, roles started to open up for black male and female actors. Many of these opportunities were thanks to one bold director, Spike Lee.
Spike Lee was very hot at the time. He's someone who really kind of shocked the world with some of his earlier films that people hadn't seen black life like this on screen before.
He had a great eye for finding talent, and he sought out Denzel Washington and Samuel L. Jackson and Halle Berry, of course.
Halle auditioned for Spike Lee's upcoming film, Jungle Fever, a controversial take on black and white romantic relationships.
She was originally eyed to play the wife of the main character. Instead, she asked to be cast as the junkie. She knew that she had to make that jump into a role where people didn't expect her.
She knew people saw her as sort of arm candy, eye candy, a pretty face, and she wanted to show, I'm an actress, I can act.
Samuel L. Jackson, who also played a junkie in the film, offered to help her prepare for this challenging role.
They both sort of went on field trips around New York City, actually going to actual crack houses to see how drug addicts live. So they could take some real-life experiences and pour them into her character.
There's all these reports that she didn't bathe a couple of days. Sam Jackson would call her stinky butt or stink butt, because she let her underarm hair grow so long that she could almost braid it. She really wanted to get into this part.
Her commitment and preparation paid off. When the movie was released, critics took note of Halle's authentic performance and her powerful scenes with Samuel L. Jackson.
One of the best moments from the film is when she's arguing with Samuel L. Jackson, and they switch into this really sort of ramped up, speeded up kind of crackhead talk, but seems completely real. This is someone that really knows how to immerse herself in a role and seem very, very real on screen.
Halle Berry's portrayal of a crack addict in Jungle Fever really showed off her acting chops. That no, this is just not some beautiful girl. This is a woman who is an actress, and she's coming here to work.
Although Halle's big screen debut was a success, the storyline of Jungle Fever struck a personal chord.
Halle Berry has a lot of opinions about race as well because she's a product of biracial marriage. And it's no secret that Spike Lee has a lot of opinions about race, very strong opinions. And so when Spike Lee was talking his talk about race on the set, Halle Berry was unafraid to confront him on it.
Halle allegedly argued that her parents' breakup was the result of alcoholism and violence, not race.
But she did feel that it wasn't race that really was the barrier in relationships. It really was something that could be transcended.
But it seemed what Halle couldn't transcend were the problems that plagued her parents' relationship.
Unfortunately, Halle Berry didn't have a clear idea of what a positive relationship could look like, because she didn't have a role model for it, coming from her father being abusive to her own mother.
She has an abusive boyfriend who she reports is a well-known Hollywood actor who she'll never reveal the name of. She dates him for a while, and he leaves her deaf in one ear. The fact that she's with a man that's abusing her is like repeating the patterns of her childhood.
But in her professional life, Halle was the confident go-getter she'd always been. She scored big roles in Strictly Business and The Last Boy Scout, and even landed an audition with one of the biggest black superstars of the time, Eddie Murphy. His newest film was called Boomerang, and his contract gave him first choice of a leading lady.
They saw a lot of women in Hollywood for this part, and they had a whole room full of people waiting, and they made each one of them audition and do a scene with Eddie Murphy, the scene where the character has to slap Eddie Murphy and go like, love should have brought you home last night from the film.
Like it's some kind of disease you just catch. Love should have brought you home last night.
Didn't you just hear me say I was sorry?
I heard you say you're sorry. You're sorry and you're tired. You don't love me. You don't love Jacqueline. You only love your damn self.
How can you say I never cared about you? Jacqueline says that I'm a better person now, and I know I owe that all to you.
I'm out of here.
So it was Halle's chance to do this acting bit with Eddie Murphy. When she told him off for the scene, he felt like he'd been told. He felt like, I don't need to be told off again. She's got the part. And so they had a whole room full of women waiting to audition. Some of these are named actresses, and Eddie said, send them home, we're done. Halle's got the part. And so that was a big moment in her career, because a top-line star had met her, auditioned with her, and recognized the talent right there.
When Boomerang came out, it was so groundbreaking because it was one of the first movies that showed African Americans in middle-class roles. You had a whole staff of African Americans running this marketing agency. They all lived in these great homes. They had these great lives. And that was the first time on film that you really saw that.
And by creating films like that, you really help broaden out the spectrum of roles that people like Halle Berry can do.
And I'll tell you, the African American community embraced it. You ask any black person about Boomerang, and they will tell you that's probably one of their favorite movies. Halle Berry was very proud to be associated with a film. It was one of her breakout roles, one of the movies that really put her on the map.
While Halle enjoyed on-screen romance with Eddie Murphy, she was looking for romance off-screen. She found it one night while watching TV at home.
She was flipping through the channels. There was some sort of program about jocks on. David Justice was on it. And, he really got her attention. Well, David Justice was a superstar. He was playing for the Atlanta Braves. He was a guy who was a home run hitter.
Just a few weeks later, when a journalist and friend of David Justice's interviewed Halle and told her Justice wanted her autograph, she gave him more than that. She gave him her phone number.
When they got together, they were like the modern version of Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe. The baseball star and the Hollywood hottie, a match made in heaven.
They were irresistible to photographers, irresistible to the gossip page writers.
Their high-profile year-long courtship had an unexpected twist. Halle took the bold step of asking him to marry her. David said yes and told Halle that she was his fate.
When Halle Berry got married to David Justice, she was so happy because she had found love. She came from these, horrible relationships, and here it is, she found this guy that she was vibing with, that she was feeling. She was like, wow, I'm in love, I'm getting married, I'm doing this. So at the time, it seemed like everything was perfect.
But the picture-perfect couple wouldn't last.